Thank you. That was a pretty hard person to follow, by the way, this whole group. As we gather here today to honor Justice Evelyn Stratton, I'm reminded that her legacy extends far beyond her numerous accomplishments. Her true legacy is the countless lives that she has touched and reformed throughout her distinguished career. It was a great privilege to stand here before you speaking for someone that I feel very special with, a very, very close friend. I cannot express how meaningful it is for me that Justice Stratton asked me to speak today. The past 20-plus years have been a journey for both of us, and I am deeply honored to talk about a person I believe stands alone in her unwavering advocacy for Ohio citizens living with mental illness. I want to tell a story about stigma and how this all started. Let me take you back to 1957. I was an 11-year-old boy, had a brother 15 years who lived his whole life with schizophrenia. One day as a school bus pulled up to the house, I saw a paddy wagon from the Columbus Police Department that was taking my brother to the old Columbus State Hospital. He would spend 6 months in the hospital, return home for a short period of time, and then go back, relapse and go back. You can't believe what the kids said to me on the bus. I walked into my house and my mother was in the bedroom crying. And I can still see her like it was yesterday. With tears in her eyes, she asked me, what are the people in the neighborhood going to think? What are the people in the church going to think? My father worked 18 hours a day, made a lot of money, but he didn't work for the money. He worked to escape the mental illness that had held our home hostage. I believe it was that experience that led me to dedicate my life to the mental health field, maybe divine intervention. Over the past 50 years, I have worked tirelessly to advocate for those living with mental illness and their families. I was fortunate to have a leadership role where I could make a difference. But it wasn't until 1990 that Justice Evelyn Stratton entered my life and became my partner in representing Ohioans that had no voice. Some people come into our lives leaving footprints on our hearts and our souls, and you'll never be the same. I really feel that way about Justice Stratton. Justice Stratton, without a doubt, became and continues to be the strongest advocate in Ohio, trying to change and make better Ohio's mental health system. Over the years, I have become concerned as we close the state hospitals, leaving people to wander the countryside. At one point, we housed 26,000 people in our state institutions. Today, many more than that are incarcerated in our jails and prisons. As a judge in the Common Pleas Court, Justice Stratton saw many individuals, but some, she believed, were not criminals, but people who suffered from severe mental illness. We must always remember that 97% of people with mental illness never commit a crime. Crimes are committed against them. I never forgot the call I received from Justice Stratton one day. She practically fell out of the sky with an unwavering determination to stop the use of criminal justice system for people who needed mental health care. Like so many of us, she was a family member who had been affected by mental illness, but it was her passion for seeing those individuals get the care and treatment they needed that set her aside. She believed that with proper treatment, these individuals could lead productive lives. Thanks to Justice Stratton's vision, advocacy, and leadership, thousands upon thousands of Ohioans now live in fruitful lives, fulfilled lives. Let me say that again, thousands of thousands, and I'm not exaggerating, are now living lives that they wouldn't without Justice Stratton's advocacy. More recently, I had the opportunity to speak at a retirement ceremony for another judge who had been a champion for mental health, and in that speech, and many others, I tend to use 3 quotes that I believe are meaningful to the career of people like Evelyn Stratton. "Cheserpuss," Alice began, "would you please tell me which way I ought to go from here?" "That depends on where you want to get to," said the cat. "I don't much care where," said Alice. "Then it doesn't matter which way you go," said the cat. Justice Stratton is no Alice. She always took the right road, and most of the time she drove me along, just to have impact on those we served. Martin Luther King stated, "More and more I feel people of ill will have used their time more effectively than people of goodwill. We will have to repent in this generation, not merely for the hateful words of bad people, but for the appalling silence of good people." He went on to say, "The ultimate measure of a man or woman is not where he or she stands at the moment of comfort and convenience, but where he or she stands at the time of challenges and controversy." Justice Stratton has been these quotes in her heart. She lives it. She never stopped anything. There was no challenge she wouldn't take on. God bless her for that. No state in the Union has more specialty courts than here in Ohio. One person alone has the responsibility for developing these drug and mental health courts. The legacy will fall on Evelyn Stratton. Over 15 years ago, Justice Stratton contacted Attorney General Mike DeWine, and by the way, I can't ever speak and I don't say Mike DeWine is one of my heroes for mental health, and stated the Attorney General Task Force on Criminal Justice and Mental Illness. For the past 6 years, she has been with Attorney General Yost. This task force has over 500 members and 15 specific areas where they're developing recommendations. Many of the recommendations have already been implemented, and more to come. That will be her legacy. Then stepping up. She took up stepping up after she left the court, and she's gone around the state to individual communities, because each of our 88 counties are different, believe it or not, and they do things differently. She has brought them together. She brings prosecutors, judges, mental health professionals, sheriffs, police officers, mental health family members, and those living with the experience, brings them together, and they agree that they're going to lessen the use of the criminal justice system for those that we serve. Over 60 counties. And I'm telling you, nobody could do it without the bully pulpit of Evelyn Stratton. If I tried that, I'd get 1 or 2 counties. But with Evelyn Stratton, it's over 60. On a personal note, unfortunately, during my tenure, I was often accused of being loud and aggressive. Governor Taft would never believe that. Obviously, none of that is true. But there were many, many days that I became frustrated with the mental health system. I would call Justice Stratton and complain, and she would always say something, and then one day she said, "Terry, you see the glass is half empty. I see it as half full." That little comment always settled me down so I could focus, like Evelyn Stratton, on the things that could get better, and in fact have got better. Many things have got better from what you've developed. I told her many, many times that I've heard her speak so often that I feel I know her parents, her life story, which is absolutely amazing. Should do a movie about her story. In retirement, I often reflect on the past, and when I think of Evelyn Stratton, I think of the one person in my career that had the most influence of anyone. And I've worked with thousands of great people. She was the number one of my thoughts. This ceremony certainly recognizes your contribution to the court, but I guarantee your legacy is much greater than these 4 walls. Your life, your missionary family, the struggles you've overcome, the mountains you've climbed will never be unnoticed, and I mean unnoticed. I cannot thank you enough for what you've done for me, and you will always be considered a very special friend. God bless all the citizens of Ohio who live every day with mental illness in their families, and God bless Evelyn Stratton. Thank you.